Well, hey everybody, it's Sunday, the 25th day of January 2026. I'm Jan Erickson, and this is As Above, So Below. Well, depending where you are in the country, you may be experiencing a snow and ice event. I grew up part of my childhood in Alaska, so we had snow and ice events every winter. One long one. But right now we're doing okay here with a little bit of snow, and it stayed because it just didn't get even above 25, but it did yesterday, so some of that stuff's melted away, but it did, it was just a dusting. So for those of you that are experiencing this, I feel for you. It's not easy, especially if you're not used to it. So, anyhow, let's go ahead. I'm trying to get the final rune to fall in my hand. There we go. Well, we haven't had this one in a while. We have Perthro. Now, Perthro is an interesting rune. It's the 14th rune of the Elder Futhark, and it's thought to be about luck and chance and the cup from which dice are thrown. If you have it, like here's a cup, or a cauldron. It's directional. Here's open to the future. Here's to the past or birth and death. Again, this is a cauldron to draw in higher awareness. This could be childbirth, being the womb. And so it's an interesting rune. But basically, when I draw Perthro, to me, it's now time to decide for myself who's controlling my fate. Is it me or outside circumstances or people? And to try, and it's signaling I need to try to get that back under my control instead of somebody else's or circumstances. It's the whole idea that, you can be in difficult circumstances, but you don't have to let it impact you other than acknowledging it and acknowledging what it is. It doesn't stop you from moving. It doesn't stop you from being happy. It doesn't, and I know that's a tough thing. But I think that that's the goal, to be aware of the world, but not really be affected by it. And right now, what's happening, at least in this country and other countries as well, it's tough to actually live that way, I think. Especially when we see what's going on here. It's a little tough to stomach. Let's see. Let's take a look at the rune, though. Well, we have populace. I don't have to even take a look at it. When I see every rune has 2 dots, and that's populace. Populace and Vaya are each other's complements. Vaya would be single dots all the way down, and populace would be 2 dots all the way down. And I'll show you as soon as I can find the doggone thing. Let's see. Oh, there's Vaya. There's populace. See, there would be Vaya. That's an active principle. That's the intentionally taking a new path or journey. Populace is following along with the crowd. Which can be a good thing but it can also be, more cult-like, where you're not thinking for yourself. And so let's just talk about the 2 runes together, both sides of that coin. If a greater power is trying to control your fate, and not just yours, but the fate of others, then coming together in populace, together with others, to stand up against tyranny could be a good thing. So someone, in that regard, someone else controlling your fate, when you examine when you pull Perthro and you're examining, okay, how does this apply to my life? Maybe you're involved in something where your fate is being determined by some tyrannical force. And if that's the case, then you do want to align with others and come together with others to stand up against it. Another way of looking at this, though, is if you are allowing someone else or a circumstance to control who you are and your fate and your emotions and your choices and things like that, when you don't have to, then populace could indicate a passive response to something, and that would be giving yourself away to people or a circumstance that really is just a choice. It's not something that has to happen. And so let's keep both in mind here, and then let's look at the cards and see where they take this. If you get a card where you're standing your ground, then we'll know that it's standing up against with others in a collective way against a force that is doing something harmful, we'll say, something that's tyrannical or authoritarian. And again, we're seeing this in other countries as well as here right now, where the government seems to have turned on the people. And so people naturally want to come out and protest, which they have every right to do. And to suggest they don't, again, is a reflection of the tyranny that seems to be controlling our fate right now. Now, I've shuffled already, so I'm not going to belabor this. I'm going to cut the deck, take the lower half, and draw 3 cards. Now, we've got a run on swords, which is intellect, it's communication, it's truth versus deception, justice, fairness, balance. We also have one, the Queen of Cups here. Cups is the water element, swords is the air element. The water element, it's about our emotions and change and motivation and compassion and joy but again, it just depends on who you get here in terms of the card from the suit of cups. With the Queen, she's a little, she can be really compassionate and generous and kind, but she can also be manipulative. So we want to be really careful how we look at this card. Because again, if she's representing the authority that's trying to do things that they can't do, then this could be someone who is a female person who is got her hands on power that's doing that. So again, let's read this both ways and see what we come up with. But let's do the. I had to reboot my computer. Where's my calculator? Here's my calculator. So again, Perthro is the 14th rune from the Elder Futhark. So there's 14 plus the 4 of swords plus the 7 of swords. And then the court doesn't have a number associated with any of those cards. So I'm at 25. That reduces to 7. So let's do it one more time. 14 plus 4 plus 7. 25. Again, 25, 2 and 5 is 7. So 7 is about observation. It's about balance. Also about justice. Magic. I like to look at 7 overall, though, as letting a situation settle out and trying to understand the entire picture before acting. And so we're going to go with that theme here, especially when you're trying to determine who is going to control your fate with Perthro. And whether or not you're going to be passive about it, or whether you're going to, or if this is a collective situation where you're joining together with others in protest and standing up. But again, understand what you're looking at and make smart decisions when it comes to that, so that you protect your own interests and don't behave in a way that sets things up for you to become harmed, as we've seen. And then there may not be any way to do that anyway, because they've decided what they're going to do, irrespective of what anybody else is doing. Just to be standing there doing nothing and still be attacked. So maybe that's not even relevant at this point. But let's take a look at the 4 of swords. Now, normally I would look at this as respite, as letting your thoughts settle, and I think that with the 7 numerology for the overall reading, I think that applies. So I think that just allowing your thoughts to settle and allow higher awareness to come in and govern the decisions and choices and behavior that you have, I think that that's important. That's an important factor here, especially if this isn't about something collective and it's just something where it's happening in your life and you need to take command and not give yourself away. That would be the cautionary tale of Perthro and Populace. And to really understand that, you have to get away from it. You have to go inward, and you have to really think about what the situation is and what your response has been to it, and determine whether or not you need to respond that way. I mean, and maybe you do, at least for the time being, but you could be planning, this could also be thought of as planning. 4 is about structure and foundation and pragmatism and reliability and all of that. But it could also be about planning what you're going to do to reassert your control. One thing you can do here with the 7 of Wands is to level the playing field. I say this every time. I used to think of this as an author, that this is theft of intellectual property, with swords being the air element. And in a sense, it could be. But because you need to level the playing field, you need to understand where the bad people are coming from. Basically, they're trying to, control your experiences in your life and your safety and your security. And here you see the King's Men behind. There's another, you've got this dual line of demarcation, which is on some of the Rider-Waite cards, where you've got this happening in the background back here with the King's Men and the tent. And, but here you've got somebody that maybe was a spy that came in from the village to try to gain some awareness as to what they're about to do to the village, right? And so you go in and you try to get maybe their battle plans or whatnot. Well, here they've conveniently left them out. And so to me, these are the battle plans that you need to understand, and in this case, make off with, so that you understand what's really going to happen. So you're better able to cope with what's going on. And again, with this overall 7 numerology for the reading, the idea of letting things settle out so you understand really what's going on here. So if it's a personal issue, you can make the best decision possible to take back your control. Instead of just, oh, well, whatever happens, happens. I mean, sometimes life is like that, but where it doesn't need to be, then I think that this is counseling, that you need to really understand the stuff that you're looking at, and so that you can better control, yourself in the situation, even if it's a waited out situation until it's done, and then you go back to doing, you've made that choice because you understand what's going on, instead of just giving it away to people that have no business telling you anything what to do, right? And so I think with the idea of taking your time to go inward, meditate, just spend time thinking, gathering facts, gathering your thoughts about you, reestablishing your foundation, to leveling the playing field, to try to, do your due diligence to find out what the real truth is about all of it. There may be, in the Queen of Cups, you may have someone who you talk to that has a compassionate listening ear, or it could be somebody that's part of the melee, basically, of people that are trying to control you in a way that's not realistic. They're trying to manipulate you into thinking things that are just simply not true. And so in that regard, the Queen of Cups, depending on how you see her, it could be what the compassion you need to have for yourself in that moment if there aren't a lot of solutions, or it could be someone external that's a female, that's in a position of authority, who can either help you understand the situation or is the one causing the situation, or at least in part causing the situation. And so I think that right now, especially going forward this week, determine how this resonates for you. Again, if it's something just personal in your life and and you're feeling a bit controlled by circumstances or by somebody else, maybe a manipulative female, who, you have to sit back and really try to understand the bigger picture. And that's true even if it's the other thing, that's going on collectively. You've got to pay attention to what they're saying, got to pay attention to what they're doing, see beyond the moment, understand what their motives are and what their ultimate goal is. That would be part of the 7 of Swords here, to gather to gather with you an understanding of what they're about to do and what their strengths and weaknesses are. Because, a lot of the times if you know what someone's about to do, you can bring light to it and it stops it in its tracks, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen this time with this other type of scenario that people are dealing with collectively here. But at the same time, sunlight's the best disinfectant, and so is a loud voice. And so and it looks like there's an awful lot of people that are expressing themselves and trying to get to the heart of what this is so that they can stop it from happening. And again, even on a personal level, if this is that and not what's collectively happening, I think it makes sense to take that same attitude. Gather what facts you can, try to understand the strategy that's involved in the other, in the people that are trying to control you. What's their strategy, and try to outsmart them, basically. If they think you're going to be in a certain place, you're going to be in another place, right? And they're not going to know what to do, right? And if they think you're going to react a certain way and you don't, that tends to take people off their game, especially in a personal situation. If you have somebody in your life that's trying to control you and you stop acting the way they expect, they don't know what to do. They might react with anger, or they might just be confused, so it's one of those things that doing what they don't expect because you know what they're about to do to you, that can sometimes disrupt all of that for them. So again, who controls your fate here? Are you going to do that by understanding the bigger picture, by understanding if you've got an ally or an enemy here in the Queen of Swords, if you've got somebody trying to manipulate you, and is part of the reason for all of this? You need to understand who that person is and what their strengths and weaknesses are, and go from there, when you're trying to determine how best to keep your own counsel and to keep your own control over a situation that's being imposed upon you. And again, this can be, populace can indicate something passive, which, if done correctly, by choice, you choose to step back and watch instead of get in the middle of it, or to not respond or whatever. It's a passive action in a way. That's not necessarily negative. But it also could mean that you're giving yourself away to somebody when you don't have to. And again, if this is a collective thing going on that you're part of, that you want to stand up for human rights and civil rights and the Constitution and all that other stuff, then populace can indicate that collective journey that we're sharing right now together, right? So again, though, if you're doing that, you've got to understand what's going on, and you've got to understand the playbook, and you've got to outsmart it, right? And I think that's what the reading is suggesting today. And again, the Queen of Cups is kind of the outlier. It depends on who she is. If she's you and you're wanting to extend compassion to people, then that's one thing. If you are somebody that can give advice because you've been through it, that could be the Queen of Cups. But if it's not, then she's representing somebody that's the problem, that she's manipulative. Both King and Queen of Cups are both manipulative. The King is passive aggressive. She can be too, but she can be very manipulative when ill-dignified. And right now, we've got some women in power that are very ill-dignified, in my opinion, and so this could represent them. You just got to understand who they are, what their playbook is, and be ready to find some workarounds to step in the way of all of it, Representative John Lewis, getting into good trouble, that kind of stuff. So, but you got to know your enemy, right? Even if the enemy is yourself, by choosing to just lay down and give yourself away and not fight back at all. And again, sometimes that's strategy. And it's the way that you break whatever's happening. You stop it from happening because they think they won, and then you go on and you do your thing, right? So sometimes that can be strategy. But if it's not, then this might be the week you want to reconsider what you're doing there and see if there's a way you can take back control from whoever it is that's trying to take it from you. So anyhow, I think that's it. I'm going to go make some soup. Chicken vegetable. it'll last a few days. So anyway, thanks for watching. The stuff is up at Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com. The forecast, the little astrological outlook, the stuff for the correspondence for work and magic for the week, if you're magically inclined. That's all there, and I hope you'll go check that out. It's also part of it's also up on Substack. I can't say it. There's a link there on the right side panel of the blog. You just scroll down, you'll see Substack link. You can click on that, and if you want to just go take a look at that. But most of that stuff, I'll put a link to this video over there too, and a picture of the cards and the runes. But anyway, that's there too, and I may expand on that at some point. I haven't yet, but because I don't know, I just like the focus to be my blog. So anyway, again, thanks for watching, and let's get through this week together, and come back again on Sunday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.